Yeah, actually, they're kind of interesting. I mean, I've written a lot of things. I've recorded a lot of new stuff. I've been listening. I just watched 9 DVDs worth of doo-wop music, and I love doo-wop, and because of the vocal harmonies and stuff. So that's kind of influencing me a little bit now. I've been playing some jazz, but the record company, they want like a Valentine's Day album, a Christmas album, it's like that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of going, we'll see.
You recently did some recording with Paul Revere and the Raiders, I understand, for a charity project.
Yeah, well, when Paul Revere calls, man, you can't say no. The Raiders, man, they're on the phone. And he came by, actually. He came by my house, came to my house, and the Ride to the Wall, it's a group of guys who ride motorcycles. They go to Washington, D.C., they go to the Vietnam War Memorial Wall, and they raise funds for Vietnam vets. And the Raiders had recorded a version of Living in the USA, and I listened to it, and I said, well, I'd better put something on that too. So I think that one just came out. I did that about a year ago or something, over a year ago. So, but I think it was just released.
And tell us about Fly Like an Eagle 05, the thing you just did with Les Paul.
Well, we recorded that a couple of years ago, and they called up and said, well, Les we're gonna do this album, and we want to include you on it. And I said, well, and this was like 3 days or so before, it's time to go. So I said, well, let me see what I've got. And I said, well, I've got, and we recorded this track of Fly Like an Eagle a few years ago, and let me see, and maybe Les wants to play on that. So I think I haven't actually heard the final deal, and I think we put the little conversation on the record where Les and I are talking when I'm 4.5, back in 1948, I think, And I heard Les did some work on it as well, so we'll see what it is. I don't know.
Final question. As you were out there this morning kind of looking at the rock walk, was there anybody whose sort of name popped up and you went, God, I really would like to work with that guy?
About 3/4 of the people on there at least, and also the guys I did get to work with, so I think the most important thing was, being put next to Les. That really got me right there. That was very, very kind of Dave to do that. I appreciated that.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Steve.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Howdy, boy.
Hey, John.
Did they give you a choice of where you want your handprints to be next to who?
Well, everybody wants to be someplace, and I did ask, if I could be near Les Paul if it were possible, and I think they put me next to him. So I think there was an arm wrestling match held on my behalf somewhere.
Fantastic. Well, what does this kind of thing mean to you?
Honestly, before I got here, I was kind of like, what? And then I got here and I started talking, I started looking at those handprints, and I just kind of went, wow, look at everybody who's here. This is great, to just be with this group of musicians, it really touched me.
You're on the Walk of Fame, too?
Well, we call it the Walk of Shame at our house. The Walk of Flames. I don't know. It just, it seems like such a strange thing. Like, I don't live in Hollywood. This stuff doesn't really, doesn't make any difference to my career, whether I work or what. And I think it means a lot more to other people than it does to me.
Well, this one's a little bit different because
this one's great because this is a group of musicians, and I mean, it got to me today. That's when it started meaning something to me, really.
Tell me how Les Paul came to teach you your first chords.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I lived in Milwaukee. I was born in Milwaukee, and Les Paul and Mary Ford came to Milwaukee to put their act together. They were rehearsing, they were playing a club gig at a place called Jimmy Fazio's Supper Club. And rather than just rehearse in a room, they were kind of rehearsing in front of an audience in a nightclub. And they were going to, after that, they were putting their act together, and then they were going to New York, and they were going to do their little television show. And so they were playing at this club, and my dad was a music nut. My mother is a musician. I came from a very musical family, professional musicians in the family, and they were all doctors and musicians, pretty bright group of guys. And my dad had a tape recorder, and this is right after World War II. This is like 1948. And he had a Magnacorder, which was, and people don't really understand this, but the Germans had tape recorders. Americans had wire recorders during the war. As soon as the war was over, everybody went, oh, tape recorders. My dad got this Magnacorder, which was like the professional machine that radio stations were beginning to use. And he went over to where Les Paul was playing. He said, I've got a Magnacorder. I'd like to bring it over and record you while you're playing. And Les said, that'd be great. So he started recording him, and then Les and Mary would come to the house to hear the tapes. And then my dad would take me with him when he went to the club. You know, you could bring a 4-year-old kid with you. So I would go sit and watch Les Paul play. And I remember seeing Les Paul playing, and he was so exciting. I mean, any musician within 150 miles was in that club to see Les Paul play. And they were there to like measure their talent, see how they were doing, to see the technology, to hear this master guitar player. And you know, Charles Mingus was there, Red Norva was there. I remember seeing Tal Farlow come into the club, and for those who don't know, Tal Farlow is this phenomenal jazz guitarist. And Les played with so much humor. He was so fast and so good and so funny. And Tal Farlow walked in, and without missing a beat, Les looked up and saw him and like put a handkerchief in his left hand and kept playing so Tal couldn't steal his licks, is what he said, you know. And I just, you know, looked at that and went, man, I want to do that. That's, how cool is that? You know, it's so funny. It was really great. So I got to see him a lot and hang out with him a lot, and I learned, you know, at the age of 5, I mean, you just absorb stuff. And, you know, I went, oh, geez. You know, he speeds the tape recorder up, and he plays on it, and then he plays it back at normal speed, and the guitar sounds like a bass, and Mary's singing 3-part harmony with herself, and the tape recorder's making that all happen, and it's an electric guitar. I mean, I didn't know he had invented any of that stuff. I just saw it all and kind of went, yeah, I know how that works. I saw Les Paul do it. You know, and so I never really thought about it until about 35 years later, and then I kind of went, my God.
You saw Les last week at his 90th birthday.
Yeah.
How are his hands?
His hands are like a claw. They're like this. You look at him and you just go, how can he play? But he still plays, and he plays well, and you know, he's amazing. We did the show at Carnegie Hall. 20 acts, maybe 15 acts. I mean, a lot of great guitar players and stuff. A lot of work. I mean, I was tired, you know, rehearsing, doing this, getting ready for the show, sound checks, all that stuff, and then doing the show. The next day, Les Paul, at the age of 90, played 2 shows at the Iridium. You know, does 2 shows on Monday nights. And first show was pretty good. Second show, it was great. And I just sat there watching him going, if I can live this long and overcome this much adversity, you know, and play and have the sense of humor this guy has, all of my life he's been there. You know, it's such an inspiration, and his band is incredible, and he does really play well. He's just, you know, it's kind of like if something happens to you, you know, if your hand gets paralyzed, you go, well, I'll play slide guitar. You know, you figure a way to overcome, you know, things that happen to you, and Les has just done that all his life. He's amazing.
Back to you for a minute. How have you managed to maintain kind of the low pro the whole time? Not let all the fame get to you?
Well, you know, you just avoid it. You know, I mean, I can go to my gig, I can walk around the parking lot, nobody knows who I am. They don't.
You realize how rare that is?
Well, you know, I kind of kept my pictures off my albums. I used artwork. I saw a lot of that happen to other people. And, you know, for me, it's always been about being a musician, not a celebrity. And I always wanted it that way. I wanted to be able to control my life, because I've seen a lot of people who really have trouble dealing with being famous. And, you know, I like a normal life, and I live very far away from here, very far. It's hard to get to me, you know. and I love to play, and I love my audience, and I love being. I mean, I really love what I do. I can't wait to go play the next concert. We've got like about 4 weeks off now, and I'm really disappointed. You know, it's like. You know, because we had the greatest concert last night and the greatest audience, but that's as far as it goes. That's all it's about. Is like me showing up with the band, delivering a really great performance, my audience having a lot of musical joy, having a great time, and being really happy, and then that's it.
When you look back at your catalog, do you have a favorite?
Well, you know, I really like Fly Like an Eagle, and I really like The Joker. Those two I really like. Fly Like an Eagle, we played it for 20 minutes last night. And I never know how it's going to go or who's going to do what. I mean, you know, it's a very open form for being spontaneous. And so that, you know, I really like that.
And why The Joker?
Well, Joker's just such a fun song to do. You know, everybody loves that song, you know, and it's I love it. I just love singing it.
Why does everybody love these songs so much? I mean, you had no idea when you wrote them, obviously, that they were going to become such staples of rock and roll.
Well, I think people really like harmony. I think they like 3-part harmony. I think they really like to sing along, you know, and they're not so dumb that, you know, it's stupid, and they're not so hard that you can't do it. And I really believe a long time ago I made a decision to write positive music. I mean, I literally sat there and went, you know, enough of this doom and gloom. I'm going to make my music positive. And I've always loved harmony. I mean, I've been singing harmony around since I was 2 years old, and I'm like all those people that like to sing harmony. And when you come to a Steve Miller concert, about 80% of the audience is between the ages of 12 and 25. You know, and people go, oh, no. And you go, oh, yeah. And they really love to sing harmony. That's what they really like. It's, you know, it's simple, it's not difficult. And, you know, there's a lot of layers to it. It seems real simple on the surface, and the lyrics mean more than maybe you think they do when you think about it. And the melodies sort of stick in your head, and then the next thing you know, you're singing, I'm a joker, I'm a smoker, I'm a midnight toker. You start laughing, you know, and then there you go.
What do you do?